Welcome back. We have finished the first 2 panels. And then now all we have to do is the gusset and then throw everything together to make a finished bag. And I can't wait for you to see the finished product. Now we're gonna sew the zipper onto the gusset pieces, and we're gonna start with 1/2 of the main panel pieces. I wanna make sure that my zipper teeth are facing up, and then I'm gonna turn that right sides together onto 1/2 of the gusset. Now with a 1/4 inch seam, I'm gonna baste that zipper onto this piece. We've basted the zipper onto this side, and I want you to pull the teeth up just to make sure they're facing the right way, and when you pull it this way, the teeth should be facing outward. Now we're gonna add the lining piece, and we are gonna make a little sandwich. So I'm just laying it right on top of that zipper, and then I'm gonna clip everything. And now we're gonna sew all 3 of these pieces together. Now we're gonna press our lining piece back. And one of my favorite tricks is to take the edge of your iron and to line it up right on that seam so that that gets pressed all the way open. And then press back, and that just makes it so that your seam is a little bit flatter. Then after we press that lining, we're gonna flip this way, and we're gonna press the top over. Once this side is pressed, we're gonna go back to our machine and do a 1/4 inch decorative stitch. Then one thing I like to do is do a basting stitch down at the bottom that will baste the lining piece and this piece together. So you're just gonna go boop all the way down. And what we do to one side of the zipper, we're gonna go ahead and do to the other side. After you do the decorative stitch, make sure you go back and do the basting stitch. And now we're ready to add on our zippers. For this backpack, we're gonna add 2 zippers, and you wanna make sure that they go on facing each other. Ooh yeah, look at our zippers together, woo! Remember the tabs that we made earlier? We're gonna stick them on either end of the zipper, and I'm just gonna go baste those onto the edge. When you go to sew over zippers, my biggest advice to you is to either crank your machine, especially if you're using a metal. This zipper is plastic, and so I don't necessarily need to crank it, but I do need to go slow through that zipper. So I'm just gonna go slowly over this. There we go. After you sew on the pulls, you can cut off the excess zipper. And you guys, we're so close to being done. We're so close. Now we're gonna take our bottom gusset and we're gonna make a sandwich. I am going to make sure the bottom gusset is on the bottom. I'm going to put right sides together, making sure the tops are lined up. And it is okay if your lining does not match up on both sides. That often happens to me when I'm sewing a zipper, and because our seam allowance is 1/2 inch, because these are not the exact same and they are less than 1/2 inch, everything will even out in the end. So after this guy is sandwiched with this guy, I'm gonna take my lining for the bottom gusset, I'm gonna sandwich it on top, right sides together, clip it. Then I'm gonna sew this with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now that that's sewn on, I'm gonna flip this guy forward, flip the lining forward. Then I'm gonna sew a decorative stitch 1/2 inch from this seam. Now that the bottom gusset is attached to one side, you are gonna take the top panel of fabric and you're gonna flip it up, and we're gonna flip this guy over, and we're creating a sandwich. Take that lining piece, fold it on top. You wanna line everything up, clip it, and then you're gonna sew it using your 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now that you've sewn this side, you are gonna flip it, and you've got a perfect little circle for your gusset. But first, just like we did the decorative stitch on the other side, we've got to do this decorative stitch on this side. So I'm just gonna press it a little bit. And the final step of the gusset is basting the bottom gusset pieces together. So I'm just gonna go right here and baste these guys together on this side, and then the same on the other side. We are so close to being done with this bag. We have the beautiful front panel, the beautiful back panel, and the beautiful gusset. And now we're gonna put all of them together. Our next step is to mark the centers of all of our pieces. So we're gonna mark the centers of our edges. So we have the middle up top, middle on the bottom, and then I'm gonna do the middle on the sides and this side. And then we're gonna do the same for the back. We don't need to mark the center right here because it's already right here. And to this side. Now we're gonna mark the middle of our gusset, and here's how I like to do it. We're gonna match up where the end of the zipper meets. So I'm gonna match those guys up on both sides. And then I am going to do a little finger press on the end, and wherever I pressed, I'm just gonna put my little marker. And then again with the bottom, I'm gonna finger press it down, and I'm gonna mark the centers this way. Now to find the centers the other way, we are just gonna match the red markings that we drew. Do a little finger press, and then mark these guys. And now we can attach all of these together. I'm gonna start with my front piece. I like to make sure to flip my handle down and clip it or pin it just so that it's not in my way. Now we're gonna find the middle of the top of the gusset, and we're gonna match it up with the middle of the top of the front piece. And I wanna make sure that my right sides are together. And then I am going to clip it. I'm gonna do the same with the bottom. I'm gonna find the bottom piece. I'm gonna line it up with the middle. Then I am going to clip it. We're gonna do it same thing. And now what I'm gonna do is just do a rough flip around the edges. And if you're thinking right now, Jenna, what are we gonna do with these corners? Well, let me show you a little bit of magic. This part of the gusset that is diagonal from the corner, I am gonna cut into about 1/4 inch. And then I'm just gonna kind of pull them until they match up at the edge. And it is okay if the edges are not perfect. So we're gonna go to this corner, I'm gonna cut in a little bit. And then I'm just gonna pull it to match up. Now we're gonna sew this all the way around the edge using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. My trick for getting around the corners is to backstitch a whole lot. So here's your corner, right here, right? And I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna go up, backstitch this way, up a little, backstitch this way, up a little, backstitch this way, and keep going until I like what it looks like. But it just makes it easier to maneuver that around that corner. Our first half is done, and now we've got to attach our back. To attach your back, you want to make sure that the zipper is open so that you can flip everything. I like to just make sure that all of the webbing is in one central spot, that it's all clipped together so that I don't sew over any of it. And now we're going to flip this guy upside down, and we're going to repeat the same process where we find the middle, match it up, and clip it. And just like we did for this first half, you're gonna add clips all the way around and make sure to go ahead and snip the corner and then clip those corners on right. Now that everything's clipped, you're gonna sew around the edge, and you may have to wrestle with your machine a bit. You just wanna sew from the top right here and just push all of these guys inward as you sew. Before we finish our backpack and see our final backpack, there's just 2 more things we've got to do. First, we're going to clip the corners just a hair, so I like to round them out. The last thing we're gonna do is figure out how you wanna finish off your raw edge. So right now you have a raw edge on your backpack, and you don't want that because this backpack is gonna get a lot of use. One of my favorite ways to finish off a raw edge on a backpack or any bag is just to do a zigzag stitch over it. If you want something a little bit cleaner, then you can go ahead and bind the edges of it, just like you would bind a quilt, is just how you would bind the edges of this guy. But I'm gonna put this guy on later because we're coming to the end of this segment, and I am so excited to see the finished bag. Okay, are you ready? We're gonna flip it. Come on, come on. It's a big bag. I'm wrestling with it. And when you make a bag like this, oh my gosh, you are gonna get some muscles because you gotta wrestle with it a little bit with your machine, but it's easy. I promise it's easy. I'm just gonna poke these guys out a little bit. Let's unclip everything. I'm gonna stretch these guys out. Are you ready? Look, this backpack is, oh my goodness. It is the perfect size. You can make it for grandkids, for your own kids, for yourself. It's the perfect size for a laptop, any book bags. And if this backpack is a little bit too big for you, you can make the mini version. Look how cute these are. Oh my goodness. If you end up making the making backpack, go ahead and tag Grace Company. I'm excited to see all the backpacks that you make. Thanks for coming to Spring Fling, and let's see what other projects people are making.